Making that presentation. Like, oh, I thought you were still here, but I wasn't sure. Maybe somebody's floating around.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'll kick it off, Amy, then I'll pitch it over to you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual family resource series. We hope this finds you and your loved ones well. And hopefully your students have settled into campus now, and if they're at home, things are going smoothly from there. We want to thank you for attending our virtual programming series. We actually haven't done anything like this before, so this is new territory for us, like many other things this year. These events are all brought to us by faculty and staff that these sessions are typically held on Family Weekend. And as you probably know, the college was able to host Family Weekend this year, but we wanted to ensure that our families and friends had an opportunity to obtain more information about the many opportunities that your students have during their time here at the college. So we've been continuing to populate the roanoke.edu/parents website. So there's more things going up there constantly. So if you haven't checked that out, we actually created a resource page this year. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to check that out. My name is Greg Hanlon. I work in our Office of Alumni and Family Relations. I'm an 11 grad. So I want to thank our colleagues here around campus who have collaborated with us to bring these topics virtually. Before we begin our discussion, a few logistical points. If you have any questions or things that come up along the way, if you want to just use the chat feature. As you entered, you are muted at this point, but I don't know, Amy, if you want them to ask you questions directly, just if you could raise your hand with that feature or unmute yourself and go from there. And I'll leave that to Amy. If you want to just hit on that at the beginning of your presentation, how you want folks to handle that, that would be
absolutely.
So today's session is being recorded, and we are going to put all of our sessions at the end of the week on our YouTube page, and we'll make that link available for everyone to have access to. So today's virtual event is titled From Plan to Professional. That's brought to you by the Office of Career Services. And here to lead us through that presentation is Amy Foster. She's our Assistant Director of Career Services. Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. It's nice to see everyone. As Greg said, I am the Assistant Director of Career Services. I came to Roanoke in 2007 as the Assistant Director, and when I got here, I felt like I was, so trendy and so relatable to students that I was practically their age. And then now I have a college student, and so I still think I'm trendy, but now I am talking to people who are my age and my friends. And so that is great. Please know that as you all are traveling through this college journey with your junior or senior, I am as well. And it's not an easy one every day. And so, certainly as my children have grown, I have grown into this role a little differently, which I think is, for me, something I've really enjoyed. I am a super informal presenter. I want to make sure that I am a good steward of your time. I want to make sure that I am getting the information out to you that you need and you want. So certainly I am totally fine with you unmuting and calling out questions or typing them in the chat box. At the end of our hour or the end of our time together, I don't want for you to disconnect from our time together and feel like you didn't get your questions answered. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I hope, I just pulled up my presentation and there it is. Hold on just a second. Let me see if there it is. Perfect. So as Greg said, this is From Plan to Professional. It's a session for junior and senior parents. My primary role at the college is to work with students in their junior and senior year here in career development, helping them develop professionally. I tell people often that one of my favorite things about working with this age in particular is that I feel like our students often are pretty humble. They sometimes don't always give themselves the credit that they deserve. They've spent, 20 years learning to be and trying to practice thoughtfulness and humbleness. And so sometimes it's hard for them to switch the gears and be able to really highlight their strengths and talk about themselves. And so that is one thing that I find is so fun in my job, is that I'm telling students, hey, this is it's okay to brag on yourself a little bit. There's a difference between cockiness and sharing what you accomplish. So I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. Like I said before, if we were doing a PowerPoint or if we were doing a session in a conference room, my PowerPoint might look a little bit different. It might be a little more in depth. So I really just want to use this to kind of share some talking points. And so anytime you want to jump right in, just feel free to do so. I know that some of you on the call have some juniors and others have seniors. And we have broken it down. Career Services at Roanoke College really tries to engage our students from the very beginning. So, being a freshman student, is more of a introduction period and an awareness and kind of figuring out, hey, I really don't like this, but I might like this. And, their sophomore year, they can experiment. Hey, I kind of think I might like the sciences, but I took a science and I'm really not strong in that area. So maybe I'll switch over to the humanities piece. And so just kind of the nice part about a liberal arts college is that it gives you that wide range of exposure to lots of different areas. One of the things that we tell students time and time again is there are so many different careers that you can go into that really your major is going to be less important than, say, employers want to know that you can learn. And so when we hop to our junior year, that's when we really talk to our students about some experience. Jonathan Lee, our Director of Alumni Engagement and Student Enrichment, is in our office. And we had a session this afternoon with the business department where we talked to students about the importance of really having some hands-on experiences, those internships. And the great part about an internship is that you may have an internship. I had a student who did an internship this summer, and she was working with developmentally delayed adults. And she realized that even though she thought at one time that's what she wanted to do, her internship kind of showed her a different side of it. And she said, I don't think I want to do that. And so it was still, even though she was disappointed that she discovered she didn't want to do what she had thought for so long she wanted to do, it was beneficial because, as I said to her, it would have been so unfortunate to get into a role as a professional and then have to think, gosh, I really don't enjoy my job. So that's where your experience is going to be really beneficial, those internships. And students can do internships in the fall and in the spring and in the summer. And even this year with our semester cutting short in November, a lot of our students are thinking, hey, I'm going to go home over the holiday break and I'm going to do a full-blown internship because I'll be home from November to January and I will have that kind of time. And so certainly that is something that we are working with students on establishing that we haven't had to do in the past or haven't had the opportunity to do in the past, which is really exciting. I think that as unfortunate as things have been as far as being in person and whatnot, it really has created the opportunity for some new experiences, which I think are really important. During their junior year, we really do talk to students a little bit about stepping out of their comfort zone some, because not all 18 to 21-year-olds are comfortable having professional conversations. And so we really do try to create networks with our students to talk to our alumni. I am not a graduate of Roanoke College. I'm sure that Greg could probably attest to the fact that as a graduate of Roanoke College, our alumni really take care of our students and really want to see them succeed. And so we try to create platforms where our students can really get to know our alumni. In October, beginning October 20th, we are going to offer to all students virtual internship fairs. And we have quite a few. The first one, October 20th, is going to be geared toward business, finance, and healthcare administration. We have another one that is geared toward the humanities, the English, the histories, museum studies, psychology, sociology. We have another that is geared toward law enforcement and our criminal justice folks. And we have another that is geared toward those industries where your major is not as specific. So, you know, we might have Robertson Marketing, for example, attend that fair, and they might need someone in their accounting department, but they also might need someone to write text for their website. So lots of different. So we do offer those opportunities to all students, juniors, seniors, you know, even our seniors. It's okay to take an internship your senior year if time allows. Then we are also, after that event, going to further network with alumni. In the past, Career Services Office has traveled to chapter cities where we have engaged a panel of alumni. We have students to say, you know, I want to work in a museum, for example. And so if we have a career night in Washington, D.C., then Career Services would partner with Alumni Development to find that alumni who was working at a museum in Washington, D.C., and then they would come and speak to our students about what it's like, you know, outside of your classwork. So obviously this year travel is not deemed as safe as it has been in the past. And so instead of doing away with the platform, what we've elected to do is provide those virtual events. One of the most exciting parts is that we have been able, before where cost and time for our students and for everyone was a little inhibitive. Now we can offer a career night with students virtually and do it from Colorado or, you know, different areas where our students are really showing an interest in. And these are safe events. These are events where students, if they misspeak, if they make a mistake, it's a safe place for them to learn. And so that is something that I think is important. I think that students sometimes may feel that their question isn't the best question to ask, but this is a safe place to really engage with our alumni and get that feedback. And how do you make eye contact and how to dress? Our students it's a school environment. It's more casual. So what is professional dress? How does that look? And what does that look like online? These are all important questions that we answer through these types of events. And we work with our students to, as they determine their direction. I have students all the time when they come, okay, I want an internship. Does it need to be a paid or unpaid internship? Oh my gosh, I would love for it to be paid. Well, let's talk about, is that a different timeline than, say, working for an organization who offers an unpaid internship? How does that look? And do you want credit? And what is the requirement? If you're getting credit, there's a certain GPA and there are certain assignments and there are certain expectations, where if you're not getting credit, there is the opportunity for maybe you to be a little more flexible as far as the academic requirements. are concerned. We also allow internships that are right here in Roanoke. Students can do them in the fall, in the summer, in the spring. They can do them, when it fits their schedule, or they can go home and do them. It used to be that Career Services would, a student would come to Career Services and they would say, hey, I want to do an internship and I want to work in accounting. And we would call an accounting office and say, hey, I have a student, he's a junior, his name is Tom. He is coming to you at 10 o'clock on Tuesday to do an internship. You all said you needed an intern. We found you one and he's coming. And then what employers said to us is, we want the internship search to be more like a real job search. We want students to feel comfortable with us interviewing. We want to look at their resumes. And so that's what we tell students is, you come to us, you go to your academic department, you talk to your family, you talk to your friends' families, talk to the leaders of your clubs, the alumni of the college, talk to your network and find out what kind of internship best works for you. Those often will matriculate into jobs. Those will matriculate. We've had students who have done a summer internship and then they've worked remotely during the school year because their internship was able to continue. So the opportunities there are endless. If they have an internship where at the end of the internship, the employer says, we have a hiring freeze, we are not going to be able to hire. However, you've done such a good job. Let me connect you with someone at a different company, that whole network. So I think that that's important. And it prepares students once again for that senior year. We do have, just so you all know, and this is something that we will continue, we have a Career Services scholarship that we advertise in March. And that scholarship is for a student who is doing a summer internship. We have an anonymous donor who has, who gives this past year, the donor gave $6,000. We divided it 3 ways for 3 students. And this is what's so great about the scholarship is there is no set way that students have to spend it. So if students have a paid internship and a free place to live and they want to sock that money away, like I said, it was $2,000 per recipient this year. If they want to sock that money away and save it for after graduation, they can. We had one student 3 summers ago who used it as a down payment for his car. We have a student this year who was a recipient and she is going to pay for her LSAT test with part of that money. So however, that is my, and I tell you that because those unpaid internships may become possible because of that scholarship. So encourage your student to look out for that. And that is something we will be, like I said, advertising in March. And then your senior, when it comes down to it, inevitably we have students who come in August and September and say, okay, I've got to get a job. I've got to have a job by May 1st, which is graduation, or May 2nd, whatever the graduation, and I don't know how to look or where to look. And what we tell students is one step at a time. The first thing you need to do is start thinking, when can you work? What is your timeline? It's going to take about 6 to 8 months for students to find a job. So during those fall months are the months where they can be doing the job research. They can be doing the footwork to email companies and to email prospective employers and say, I've attached my resume. I'm writing to find out what is your prospective hiring outlook for the spring. I'm graduating in May. I've attached my resume and start networking. Once again, it's a push to get students to kind of step out of their comfort zone a little bit, but with a little bit of coaching, with a little bit of encouragement, our students are prepared. They're ready to go. I have students all the time who say, gosh, I'm not, and you may have a son or daughter who says, I'm just not ready to graduate. And what I tell them is, while it feels like that now, 1 more semester and you would think, why am I still here? And so while sometimes it hurts to leave, because it's safe and it's fun and this is where your friends are and you've learned a lot and you've become hopefully engaged in our community, going on is the next step, and students are ready. We encourage our students, especially now, what does their online profile represent? This is a great time to start cleaning it up. This is a great time to think about, how do I interview? How do I Zoom interview? And I enjoy talking about when Zoom was so new in March, I was thoroughly entertained all the time with students. They would take me for a walk around their house. They would, I had one student who got better reception in his bathroom, so he Zoomed me from his bathroom. And I'm like, hey, probably not the greatest place to Zoom. Think about, what does your LinkedIn profile look like? Because LinkedIn is so important, and students don't necessarily think about having a LinkedIn profile until, later on in their college, or even right before they leave. I've talked to a number of students just today who said, I don't have a LinkedIn account. It takes 15 minutes to set it up. And then you can network with so many people from around the world. And I tell students, if you connect with me professionally on Facebook, I'm not necessarily going to reciprocate a professional conversation, but I don't have to know you on LinkedIn to connect with you. Look at people and find out, okay, well, there's Amy. Oh, she is connected with somebody who works at Disney World in Florida, and I really want to be a cast member. So let me contact Amy and say, hey, I see that you are friends with, so-and-so who works at Disney World, and I want to know more about how to get connected with them. Can you connect me with her or him? And so LinkedIn is it's that platform. You think about what does their Twitter feed, is it controversial? Is it time to, and there are some employers who it's not going to make a huge impression on them. But there are others that do. And so that's something that I really encourage students during the fall of their senior year to start cleaning that up, and making sure that it is what I call grandmother safe. If your grandmother can see it, then it's okay. But make sure that it's something that you are proud of. Because here at the end of the day, this list was not developed by Roanoke College. It was developed by the National Association of College Employers, which is our national professional development organization. And when we talk to employers, what they want to know is, are your students critical thinkers? They want to know, what's the problem solving? So really what's important are going to be the soft skills. And that's one of the things we really work on. I think that our students, and I say to students, there are some things you can't be an accountant if you are an English major, because you don't have the accounting background that it takes to sit for a CPA exam. Okay? But how many of my English majors want to be accountants? You see what I'm saying? So, and I tell students, you've learned a lot in the classroom, but think about the problem solving that you've done outside of the classroom. Think about how you have learned to be a more effective communicator. I know that some students just are naturally strong writers and strong presenters. Others grow into it. And that's one of the things that I think Roanoke College has done. I tell students all the time, teamwork and collaboration. You go to class and your professor might say, we're going to do a team project in this. We're going to do a group project in class. And so many students, it's not because our professors want to only grade 4 or 5 projects. It has created so much more work, obviously, for them, but it helps our students to learn, hey, listen, this is a time I need to step up and be a leader. This is a time where I need to communicate. This is a time maybe I need to listen. And so that is so important in the job world. I tell students all the time, you know, if you are ever going to, and like I said, I have a college age student, and so I'm learning to practice a little bit of what I preach, which is if our students are ever going to take a risk, if they're ever going to do something adventurous, now is the time to do it. Because when they get out of college, if they want to move, 3 states away, they, in some cases, don't have the ties that they will once they take that first job. And so sometimes they do, and it just depends on the individual. But being able to go somewhere and start that fresh job, and being able to show, hey, listen, I've got some problem solving skills. And this is where I learned them. And I can certainly make eye contact, and I can write a paper, and I can work with your team. And I tell students also, information technology. So many students these days say it's just an assumed, everyone can work a computer. Well, you're going to be working with people who didn't just get out of college. I'm not going to lie, I'm on Zoom. I started to panic when I went to pull up my presentation, because what if it's not there? This summer, I am past president for our Virginia Association of College Employers, our state professional organization, and I was hosting an awards Zoom meeting where we could recognize our state's award winners, and my Zoom call was bombed. And so, how did that happen? And I thought I was secure, and so being able to kind of help people with that IT application and really apply it in the workplace is something our students need to know. Professionalism and work ethic. We're very lucky most of the time. Sometimes I run into a student who said, I've never had a job, but I have volunteered. But being able to develop that professionalism and work ethic. And I tell them, if you've never had a job, think about your work ethic in your classroom. Think about your work ethic when you help a friend. How can you apply that professionally? Your leadership. I love this one because so often people think, oh gosh, I've never been president, or I've never been executive member on a club, or, I don't feel like a leader. But then I encourage students, what have you initiated? What have you kind of said, hey, listen, I think this is a good idea, and stepped kind of away from your peers to say, I think we should do it this way. And become that independent thinker, I think is so important. And then career management, the whole idea of, I have had some jobs that have helped me develop completely, and I understand what it's like to have a job. And then, of course, global and intercultural fluency. Employers want well-rounded folks. They want to hire and have on staff people who can be accepting and open-minded of people from different walks of life. And so I think that, when they start to interview, these are kind of the questions that they need to address. And these are the things they need to be ready to think about. Now, this to me, as I was making this list, I thought, gosh, everyone's going to really understand this and they're going to know. But I do think it's important to encourage your student to listen to their ideas about their future, because certainly, and I am very guilty of this, with a 20-year-old, I kind of have in my mind what I think he should do. And he has in my mind what he thinks he should do. And I promise you, it's not the same plan. But I have to listen. And it's really hard because I am a career counselor and he talks to me less than anyone, because he thinks I'm going to impose my ideas on him, which I probably would. But I think I would like to think I would. So I need the reminder that my plan is not his plan and his plan is okay. Sometimes it's important, I think, to help your student. They forget, they get stressed out. Oh my gosh, I'm graduating in May. I have to have a job, or I don't have a direction. To help them identify their strengths and their talents, because, and I hate to continue to use personal examples, but that's what I have. So, for my son, he's an avid mountain biker. And so his part-time job is working at a bike shop. Well, he's been able to apply a lot of his education to his job at the bike shop. And I think that that's fine. And he's been able to explore careers in that area and industries in that area. And so I think that a lot of times students, for whatever reason, think, gosh, I've got to want to be something. I've got to want to be this or that. And so often I concentrate with students about their path. How can you use your strengths and talents in a career that is going to make you happy, is going to allow you to live, and then how are they going to apply to what you want to do? And be patient. And this is another hard one for me. Sometimes for us, the answers are so clear and they are so obvious. And it's not like that with our students. And so just to kind of to know that and remind yourself, hey, we're going to get through this. And then, of course, to listen without interruption or judgment. Once again, sometimes I think when I created this list, maybe I created it more for me than you all. But I think that these are points worth pointing out, because we all want what is best for our kid. And sometimes that is so obvious to us and not as obvious to them. But serve as a resource, help them create opportunities. I ask students this all the time. Do you all know what your mom and dad do for a living? Do you know what the adults around you do for a living? And then I say, do they like their job? Because when I was growing up, my mom was a school teacher. I assumed that she liked kids, because why else would she teach school? And my dad was a real estate agent, and he just got up. I grew up in the 70s. He got up, put on a suit and tie every day. We didn't talk about whether or not he liked his job. My kids know that, hey, my mom writes resumes and helps students learn to interview. That's what she does, and she really likes it. And this is what my dad does, and he really likes his job. So, introducing them to people and say, hey, listen, I have a college buddy or a high school friend or, our neighbor. So to help them create opportunities and start that pathway. It used to be that students would say to me, oh my gosh, I just need to get this job on my own. No, your job is to keep your job on your own, but use your resources to find the job. There's no shame in that. And so I think just open those doors sometimes is really good. And then to send them to us. We are a 4-member staff. My primary role is to work with juniors and seniors. Kelly Delasky works primarily with sophomores and freshmen. We have Jonathan Lee, who, like I said, he works with alumni engagement and student enrichment. So he is fabulous at helping people connect, helping our alumni stay engaged with our college, and then helping our students find opportunities off of campus. And then we have Courtney Pageant, who she is our office operations coordinator. She works with our job board, which is called Handshake. And she is kind of the manager of all things career services. So we have so many services. I'm super proud of our office. And so encourage your students to visit us. Even tonight when you're talking to them, say, hey, listen, I went to this session. You should probably just email Amy Foster. She will email you back and probably ask you to set up a meeting. And she didn't bite, so it was okay. What happens after graduation? Here's the thing. I do a series of senior exit interviews with all of our seniors. They come, they fill out some surveys, and then they talk to me. Do you have a resume? What does your resume look like? Where have you applied for jobs? What are you thinking about? Do you know? Have you looked? And every year I get a variety of answers. I'm just not ready to look yet. I already have a job. I got a job for my internship last summer. I'm really frustrated with my job search because I can't find anything I really want to do. These are all open-ended discussions that we can have with students. I tell our students, we work with alumni. And then I joke and say, I don't love working with alumni because if you are in career services as an alumni, you either have a job you do not like or you do not have a job. And I want our alumni to be happy and productive and pleased with their education and their professional place. But we do work with alumni often to help them with that transition. Sometimes that senior exit interview opens up a whole lot of discussion with students, and they come back. And, you know, what I tell students is the earlier I get to know you, the better I get to know you, the better I can connect you with other people, the better I can help you with that transition. We do follow up with students during the summer months because, like I said, we want to know, where are you working? Are you working in the field of your choice? Do you have kind of are you taking a gap year because you're going to graduate school in a year? We really do try to follow up to help with that transition. Our alumni are available or invited to come to the career fairs, our networking events. Like I said, we have alumni chapters in a lot of different cities. And so we really want to help with that professional transition. I tell students, you know, just because reach out to your peers who've just graduated. They're the ones who are going to know it best. Sure, it might be the 45 or 49-year-old who can do the hiring, but the 25-year-old is going to tell you a little bit more about what the job search was like. They're going to give you a little more real picture of what it's like to be in the trenches of an entry-level job. And I think that that's important to be able to know that. I want to provide a resource, and I started making a list just kind of tongue-in-cheek. Handshake is the Roanoke College Job Board. That is an outside vendor that we contract with. Handshake has over 40,000 employer contacts. When students go to Handshake, they're asked to complete a profile. It pulls jobs from, you know, their geographic region, their area of interest, pretty much. Depending on how specific they are with their profile, will match those jobs. We also have alumni and employer partners locally who will post on Handshake. Once again, LinkedIn is such a good networking page. That's the link to my LinkedIn page. I tell students to look on Indeed.com. It's such an easy site to use. It's if they're sitting in the Colquitt Center and waiting for a friend to join them for lunch, they can hop on their phone and hop on Indeed, maybe find a job or two without investing a whole lot of time. But look at individual company websites. Look at alumni events. Have them talk to their professors, previous employers, and have them look everywhere for jobs. The only way they can do a job search wrong is if they're just not doing it. And be prepared. And we do mock interviews in our office. And I tell students, the first question I'm going to ask you is to tell me about yourself. And I don't lie. That's always the first question I ask. And 9 out of 10 students are like, I have no idea how to answer that question. And so I'm glad that they get to practice on me, so that we can talk through how to answer that question and how to present themselves in a way that they're not saying, oh, well, I grew up in Christiansburg and I have 3 brothers and 3 cats, but this is really, when somebody says, tell me about yourself, start with college, start with the professional piece of you, and then move forward from there. Mock interviews really kind of bring it home for students as to, this is something I can do. And this is something I'm ready to do. So there's so much, like I said, just not doing a job search is not okay. It's going to take a little work. It's going to take a little bit of time management and commitment, but we're here as a resource, and I'm super proud of the services we offer in career services, and more than happy to meet with our students. Like I said, I have given you all of our emails so that if you want to reach out to one of us in particular, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm here, we are all here on campus Monday through Friday now, which is great. I will tell you, we spent the summer being virtual, and still super proud of our office. We kind of didn't miss a beat because we got things done. But it feels really good to be on campus. It feels really good to meet with students. We're doing everything socially distant or on Zoom. But it feels like, some of you may have heard, this morning I had 2 in-person. I haven't yet had a back-to-back appointment in person, and it felt really good to have a student waiting in our living room and meeting with the student. So that was really fun. So, we're adjusting and making it happen. So please encourage your students to come see us. I have talked for 45 minutes straight, and I'm really sorry for that. But I would love to open up for some questions. I know that we had a couple of questions prior to the call, and one of them was, our juniors and seniors, do we have job fairs and events? And I hope I answered that during my presentation. One of the things that I tell students is, watch your Roanoke College email. Watch Handshake. We publish everything. Handshake, oftentimes we had one of our alumni who was asked to speak at Radford. Because he was an alumni, he asked, will you invite the Roanoke College students to your event? So Radford then invited our students, because of this alumni, to attend their close event. It was virtual. We did have some students attend. This afternoon, we are part of a consortium of 16 different colleges. And so the colleges are each planning for our 5 events. And so this afternoon, we had a virtual federal and careers in the federal government expo and panel. Last week, we had one on accounting and finance. So we certainly do. Generally, in the past, we have had an event called Career Premiere, where we've had over 100 employers go to the Green Ridge Rec Center, and we have allowed students to either drive there, or we have provided transportation for them to network with employers. So we really do try to get in with as many professional. We have employers who will do mock interviewing for us. We have them who will come and do real interviews for applicants. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly, once we get into the interviewing, how that's going to look. Probably anything this fall is going to look virtual. Hopefully in the spring we can do some more in-person events. That's something that we're continually planning, and then can switch to online. One of the things we want to do, Jonathan and I are planning on partnering to do some professional development with our alumni on campus in January or February, outside of those career nights that we talked about before. That's still in the planning stages, but certainly we do offer a lot of opportunities. I tell students all the time, college students are infamous for not loving to check their email. And what I tell them is that's how people communicate in the professional world. We don't TikTok. We don't Snap. Check your email because that's the only way we know to get to you. If I send you an email and it's a complete waste of your time, you have wasted 2 minutes reading something that's really not important. If I send you something and you spend 2 minutes and something develops from it, like a job or an internship, wow, what a great 2 minutes spent. And surely our students have 2 minutes to read an email. So if you all could help me by reiterating that to students, that would be awesome. Another question that I had was about salaries. And that's a hard question. I'm not going to even pretend think that that's an easy answer. So often when students come to Roanoke, they want to stick around. Starting salaries in Southwest Virginia are going to be a little bit lower, but so is the cost of living. So what I tell students, there are sites out there, salary.com, onetonline.org, their Salary Finder. There are places that they can do calculations for fair salaries. What I tell students, don't calculate, I need new tires on my car, my rent's going to be $6,000. Don't calculate your personal finances and then say, well, I've got to have a job making $85,000 a year because it's going to cost me $8,000 a month, or $7,000 a month to live. Look at fair salaries. And then there's always a little bit of room for negotiation. And I can help students learn how to negotiate a little bit, but that is something to consider, the cost of living, and then to consider what a fair salary for the field that they're going into, I think is probably the best advice that I can give. What other questions do you all have out there? Nothing? All right. Greg, do you have any questions? Is there anything that you all would have liked to have seen me cover that I didn't?
Not that I can really think of offhand. One piece that I would just reiterate on the tail end of that last question having to do with salary is there's some great websites out there that allow students to kind of see cost of living in different cities, and they can compare them, and that's such a great tool for them to consider when they're job searching and just looking around. The only thing that I would say that's been helpful for me is goal setting. It's such an important piece. I goal set each year in my role. I goal set professionally, personally. I just think it's a great way to go after some of your dreams and goals that we're looking at. But aside from that, I can't think of other questions.
And I tell students all the time, you're never going to make as much as you are worth. And so that doesn't necessarily help when you're trying to pay your rent. But you also have to be really realistic. I did have a student years ago who was offered a really nice salary in Northern Virginia. And he said, I think I can do better. And I said, oh, okay. He said, I know I can do better. And then the stock market crashed. We went into a recession. But he had already turned the job down. And so there was no, going back and asking for that. And he ended up really struggling. And so, I do think that he was offered a fair wage. It wasn't fancy, but it was fair and it was livable. And so I think that that's the biggest thing that they have to look at is what is livable, which I know we all want more. But to start out with, I think that, a fair wage is important.
Looks like we maybe got a couple questions in the chat now. If a student is trying to decide between a job versus grad school after graduation, can Career Services help, or is that a more appropriate conversation with a faculty advisor?
I talked to a student about that this morning. And certainly I think that you could have that conversation in combination with a faculty advisor and Career Services. Grad schools are going to try to admit a well-rounded group. So if a student is thinking about taking a gap year, how can I use my gap year while I'm preparing for graduate school? What are the benefits of going to graduate school versus going into the workforce? So once again, I think it's going to be such a personal and individual decision, but I'm a huge advocate for casting a wide net. And so to have a 30-minute to 1 hour conversation with someone in career services, and the same with your faculty advisor, may give some insight as to the best path to take. We will forever proofread personal statements and statements of purpose. We are more than happy helping with the application process. What I am not as comfortable with, and what I do refer students when it comes to grad school to faculty advisors for, is when a student comes in and says, you know, I'm a psychology major, where should I go to grad school? I don't even pretend to know where your student should go and where the best programs are the most effective programs for their type of learning. Their faculty advisors are going to know more than me there. And so that's where I say, you know, talk to your faculty. They know your learning style. They know your academic habits, and they might know exactly where you would be the best fit. So we really do partner with our faculty and have lots of open conversations of, you know, hey, this student came to see me and I wasn't sure. So, you know, what do you think?
Like there was, how do you narrow down a search for a business major?
Okay, so to narrow down a search, and I'm going to stop my share if that's okay. To narrow down a search for a business major, I think, does that student have a concentration? We also offer the Strong Interest Inventory, which is a resource that we use. It's an online resource where it's going to compare a student's interest to over 70 different professions. It certainly doesn't test aptitude, but it's going to compare them based on the questions, you know, so that sometimes does provide real direction for students. Oh, I never really thought about being a public relations assistant, or I never really thought about being a marketing manager. Let me look more into that field. So, and the Strong Interest Inventory is something that students can request through our office. We then send them the link to take it, and they come into our office or they Zoom with me, and we interpret that for them. And that is a service that we provide to our students free of charge. Okay.
Maybe one more question about a site. I'm wondering if that was Handshake, maybe, that we're asking about.
I went through a couple. Let's see. Handshake is our job board. You can find that if you go to the Roanoke College page and go to services. There's a link to Handshake. It'll take you straight there. onnetonline.org. That is a favorite site of mine. It looks like the Biggest Nothing site. It has like a crane, I think. You think, what is this site? And you can type in any occupation in the right-hand corner and then do a search. It's going to tell you all about that job. It's going to give you some salary information. It's onnetonline.net, I believe. And it's a really good site as well. And I go through that with students all the time. I don't like to tell students, oh, go to this site or that site. I feel like they've come to us for more than just to be referenced back to the internet. And so I really try not to do that with students. And so I really try to sit down with them and go through some of these sites as well. Okay, I see a question. How do we link up alumni in business to students? Lots of different ways. One, I'll say to a student, send me your resume. Let me make sure your resume looks as it should, doesn't have any typos on it, doesn't have any glaring things that shouldn't be on it. I will partner with Jonathan next door to say, hey, listen, I have a student who wants to work in accounting in Charlotte. Who can we couple them with? We have a Maroon Mentor program that all students are invited to participate in. We really market it to sophomores. However, we have a lot of juniors in it this year. where we very intentionally and very pointedly ask students, hey, what are you interested in? Oh, well, I want to be a teacher. So we find them an alumni who is a teacher to meet with them outside of, meet with them informally and individually to talk to them about careers. I had a student today who said, I was working with my Maroon mentor and they told me I should go to law school. So this is something I've decided to explore. You know, I was working, we had a Maroon mentor who did sports marketing in the Virginia Tech Athletic Department. That was a lot of fun because it mostly made a lot of Tech fans really jealous because he got to sit in the press box. He got a lot of really cool experiences through this alumni. It is so beneficial. And like I said, we have continued doing it this fall. Once again, with everything being so virtual, we've been able to reach out to alumni who are not just local. Because of Zoom, it's still very much face-to-face. And people, those connections are so important.
Yeah, Jonathan was actually recently telling me a really cool story about a connection with a Maroon mentor. So we have an alum who works for the Secret Service, and we had a student who wanted to get into that line of work with the government, and she was actually able to go to the White House and shadow that alum for a day, which was a really neat experience for that student. So that's kind of like what the program would do for students.
And, you know, we've had, and we tell our students, your mentor relationship doesn't have to end when your semester ends. And we've had a couple students who wanted to do it more than once. So, you know, that I think is a real benefit. Other questions? I'm going to hang out here on the call for a little while. If anyone wants to hang out with me and chat a little further, I'm more than happy. But I'm going to hand it back over to Greg. And I wish your students luck, and I look forward to meeting them if I don't know them already.
Well, we want to again just thank everyone for attending today. Lots of questions about being able to show this to students or see it. So it is recording, and we're going to upload this up to our YouTube page. We're hoping to do that by the end of the week, and we'll send out just some follow-up information with that YouTube link. I also put it in the chat if you want to check it out. We actually have some of our Nook Live series up right now, which is more geared at alumni, but maybe some applicable interest or information that you'd be wanting to check out. But with that being said, we have a couple more events later this week, 2 on Thursday. So one's on study abroad, and the other is on research with a faculty member at the college. So definitely encourage you to check those out as well. But again, thank you guys so much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.